Hello and welcome to this edition of Tigunia TipTok. Today we're going to be talking about the new Automatch function within the bank reconciliation process. In our last video we talked about the standard bank reconciliation process that's been in Nav and Business Central for a number of versions. Recently Microsoft published a new Automatch feature that gives you the ability to import bank statements and match them with your open bank account ledger entries, and we're going to talk about that today. The first step in wanting to use this version is to go into the General Ledger Setup, and we're going to actually turn on this feature. Down here in the General tab is the Bank Reconciliation with Automatch feature that we need to turn on. Be aware that before you turn that on, make sure there are not any open bank reconciliations in the system. The system gets a little confused if you're using both of them, so just make sure that any prior versions have been posted and the bank reconciliation is clear. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. You'll get a little message indicating that the system is going to change the report that is being used for the bank reconciliation posting report. That's just because the new Automatch feature includes some functions or some changes in that report. So just go ahead and click OK. We're going to close the General Ledger Setup and we're going to move over to Bank Reconciliations. I'm going to click on Process and New, and we're going to once again use our checking account and click OK. You'll notice that when this opens up now, we've got a little bit different format to this bank reconciliation page. In the prior format, we had the header, and then we had the list of open checks. Then below that was a section for all the list of open deposits, and then below that was an area for adjustments. In this phase, in this page, we've still got the same header, so we'll enter the same information there and the same closing balance for our statement and our date. But you'll see down below that we've actually got two panes. Over here on the right is the bank account ledger entries. So over here the system is going to bring in all of the open bank account ledger entries that need to be matched. Over on the left hand side is an area for the bank reconciliation lines. This is where you'll then import the bank reconciliation lines, or the bank statement lines that you can then match up. At this point we'd come up to bank and import the bank statement. We're not going to do that at this point because that would require us to have a format and a file, and we're going to talk about that in a future video. In this case, for today's demonstration, I'm just going to copy and paste some transactions, which you can do. So if you have an Excel, you can copy and then paste those into that pane. So you'll see now I've got a number of transactions over here, and I've got a number of transactions over here. At this point, now that you've got all the transactions in, you can do an auto match. So if you click on here on matching, you can click match automatically. The system will ask you for a set of tolerance days. What the system is doing is it's trying to match up the transactions, and as you know, sometimes even though you posted on one specific date in your bank account ledger entries, it doesn't hit the bank until a different day. And so in here we're going to set up a number of days that the algorithm is going to go through and say, as long as this transaction is within a number of days, it'll go ahead and match it. I'm going to go ahead and use 5 at this point and click OK. You'll see the system at this point, after it finishes its matching operation, will have matched 13 out of 13 reconciliation lines. It turns them green, as you can see. So all of these are matched up. They're all green. Over here, they're all green except for these two, which are basically still outstanding checks. They haven't cleared the bank yet, and so they're still showing as non-green and non-bolded. Now, if the system did make a matching error, you can go ahead and remove the match. So if you just select one of the items, you can click on matching and remove that match, and you'll see that the system unbolded and ungreened the line over here on the bank statement lines and the matching line on the bank account ledger entry lines. Now you can manually match those if you want by selecting this line, making sure the arrows on that line, making sure the arrows on that line come up and match those manually, and you'll see that it's matched them all up again. Now once you've done that, you're ready to run your reconciliation report. Be aware that these totals are a little bit strange to try and understand. I'll go through them very quickly, and we can spend more time in a future video when we talk about the reconciliation or the actual report. The total balance just brings in the ending balance from the header plus all of the lines in the section, whether they're matched or not. The balance over here just brings in the statement ending balance plus the net of all the lines from where you are on the list, which is a little bit confusing, and I'm not sure why they've done it. But as you see, if I come over here and I click on this first list and I click down, this is adding up all of these lines. So as long as I'm clicked here, there's the 31,638. If I click on the second line, this 28,000 is the net of those two, and then so on as I go down. So if I come down to the bottom, that's going to be the balance of all of the transactions up to that point. So it's a little bit confusing. This then is just a difference between the difference column between my unapplied and my applied amount. That's basically telling me that I've got everything applied. Over on the right hand side, the balance is going to be the total of the bank account ledgers for that bank account, whether they're matched or unmatched at this point. The total outstanding checks is going to be a total of all of the lines in that section that are considered check ledger entries. There is a column over here to the side that indicates whether this is a check ledger entry, and if there's a 1 there, it is, and so it's going to add it in that column in the total outstanding checks, and the balance to recon is just a total of all the lines in that section, whether they're matched or not. So it can be a little bit confusing. Within this version then, there is the normal test report. If I come over to actions and posting, I can run the test report on that and just make sure that, once again, like the other report, that your total difference here is 0 between the GL side and the bank statement side. So that's the new Automatch feature. In a future video, we're going to go into a little bit more detail specifically about how to reconcile and what some of the differences may indicate. We're also going to talk about how to create a bank format and talk to your bank about what's the format that they're going to send for the bank statement lines so that you can import those directly, and how we can set up the data exchange services within Business Central to import those. So depending on which ones you want to use, whether you use the standard version or the new Automatch is really up to you. If you have a bank that has a lot of transactions and you want to take advantage of that Automatch, you can certainly use the Automatch feature because it also allows you to do one-to-many and many-to-one, and it allows you to import transactions, so it makes it nicer. Conversely, the standard system is one that you're comfortable with and familiar with. You can also do adjustments on the old one, whereas in this new one you can't really post adjustments to the GL at the same time. But it is just a personal preference. So look at both of them, decide which ones are easiest for you to use, and go ahead and use those, but the features are available. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any other questions, contact us here at Tigunia at the information on the screen, and have a good day. Thanks.